Evening and welcome to tonight's Monday night panel. We're joined by 5 guests this evening, so we'll bring them on shortly. Just to say that we have a fans forum on Thursday, that's this Thursday coming, the 5th, 7 o'clock for a 7:30 start. There will be Clem, Jamie Russell, Anthony, Mandy Hall and Mark Kennedy will be on the top table, as they say. So if you would like to go to that, it's £3, all of which is going to our charity of the year, which we share with the club, which is Phoenix Enterprises. And you can get your tickets from our website, which I will put on a banner along the bottom. If you go in to buy a ticket, there is also a form that you can fill in for any questions if you can't make it on the night. They're not going to be doing live streaming, but we are going to record it, so you will be able to see it afterwards. Okay, so let's bring Vic on, because I know he's got some SAS news and things while I do the banner.
Yes, thanks very much indeed, Chris. Good evening and welcome to a very dismal, dreary Devon. I hope it improves for tomorrow night when Exeter City are the hosts, of course, at St James Park in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. If you're going to that game, the bus leaves the county ground 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. If you're going to Barrow on Saturday, it leaves the county ground at 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So don't be late for that. If you want tickets for SAS Travel, they are available in the club shop. Phone bookings have been suspended for a little while for logistical reasons. But if you want to travel on SAS Travel and find out which ones are available, then you can do that in the club shop. But 2:30 tomorrow afternoon for Exeter, 7 o'clock in the morning for Barrow on Saturday.
Thank you very much. I'm just adding a banner now to...
Okay, carry on doing that. And I'll just remind you of the results for the under-18s. They drew with Wimbledon, I think, on Saturday, 2 apiece, and a good win for the women yesterday at Bridgewater by 4-0. So well done to them. A great way to start their campaign over the last couple of weeks. They've done well. And I believe they're at home this coming Sunday, aren't they, Chris? I think
they are. Yeah, they're at home on Sunday. I believe it's Keynsham. I will check that.
Keynsham.
That's it. So I believe they're at home to them, but I will check that because we played Bournemouth, haven't we? So it's not that.
Bournemouth Sports, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so should we bring the panel on? We've got Ray.
Evening all.
We've got Mitchell.
Hi, Mitch.
We've got Andrew.
Mr. Hawes.
And then we've got Becky.
Hello, Beck.
We've got...
Hi.
There we go. We've got a full
How are you?
house.
Yeah, we have.
Very good.
We have. Okay, so I'm going to leave you. If you've got any questions or feedback, put them in the comments box and we will get through as many as we can. Okay, and I will see you later.
Thanks, Chris. See you a little later on. We're here until 8 o'clock. Don't forget, Fool's Rush is in at 9 o'clock, so there's much more Swindon Town content to come later tonight. I posed a question when I put the thing out today about the fact that we were doing this. Swindon Town, of course, as we know, below the dreaded dotted line. Is it too early to judge, or are you worried? A quick answer then from all of you, and then we'll get into the meat and bones of this thing. Ray, what's your view?
If you'd asked me at the back end of last season, would we be in the bottom 2 at the start of this one, I'd have probably said yes. But you know, that's kind of no surprise on the trajectory. But if you actually look, I think at the squad we've now got, albeit some came together on Friday, it looks a bit different to me to last year. So it's worrying. The start's worrying. But I went into Saturday's game not really expecting a win, but I hoped to see something that suggested we were on the right path and we were improving. And I think we got that on Saturday. So I'm not all doom and gloom at the moment. I'm hopeful that we do sort of kick on from here. We need to, because obviously the pressure will build if we don't. But we're in a better place squad-wise, I think.
Mitch, worried or too early to judge?
I'm worried, but I was worried before the season started. But a little bit less worried after Saturday than I was before Saturday. But still worried.
Still worried, but not quite as worried. Fair point. Mr. Hawes, what about you?
I think I can join him in saying a bit less worried after Friday's transfer dealings and Saturday, but I'm never entirely serene until mathematical safety is assured.
Okay, well, there's a little way to go before that. Beck, what would you say?
If we were having this conversation on New Year's Day, yes, I'd be concerned. I'm not at the moment. It's far too early to worry about it. I remember last season I went to the Notts County game with my dad on the 3rd of October. Notts County were top of the table and absolutely flying. Things change very, very drastically, as we all know. So no, I'm not concerned at this stage.
Dan, what's your view?
Well, definitely too early to judge on the footballing side of the club. Kennedy deserves time and will get time. Slightly, eased, I suppose, a little bit by the late transfer business, which I think has added some quality and some depth to the squad. I think my worries just remain about the club off field. And I think as Ray made the point around the trajectory of the club and sort of Clem Morfuni. So yeah, we need wins soon just to calm people and get the season up and running.
Well, let's look at the bare facts of Saturday then. Swindon Town 1, Notts County 2. Swindon in front for the first time this season, if memory serves. Gavin Kilkenny with a fine strike on 21 minutes with Will Wright's assist. And then 2 worldies from David McGoldrick, 2 from him on 30 minutes and then on 80 minutes. A real couple of pieces of quality, but you could argue with the fact that the defending wasn't great on both occasions. 7,326 was the crowd. A lot of those, there were, I think, 600, 700 came from Notts County. So crowd's definitely down. The table, 21st place Salford, played 3, points 2, goal difference -2. Accrington 22nd, played 4, points 2, goal difference -5. Below the line in 23rd, Swindon 4 games played, 2 points, -5 goal difference. And then bottom of the table, Morecambe 24th, played 4, points 0, a goal difference -4. Tonight, Salford against MK Dons, who are 18th, played 3, points 3, goal difference 0. I would put this to you, Ray. Let's go back in time, do that sort of thing like that they do. In August 1985, Swindon played Torquay United on a Friday night. Whoever won that game wouldn't go bottom of Division 4. In 1985-86, Swindon went on to win the 4th Division Championship. It's possible. Do you see anything remotely like that this time?
Never say never, but I think from where we started out this year, that's probably hoping for a bit much. I do hope that we won't be looking over our shoulder as it goes forward. And yeah, these things do happen. I know we lost 5-0 at Gillingham in Danny Wilson's season and went on to make the playoffs. So you can't put too much, or set your stall out too much by the first few results. But my main thing, I came into it thinking we're going to be defensively much stronger. I think we still will be, but of course those 8 goals in 4 days, I think, knocked our confidence a little bit. But I think it's possible we will string some results together at some point, because I think we will become harder to beat.
Mitch, your view on that? I mean, it's early days. Everybody says, it takes 10 games to see how a side's going to fare. I mean, you could argue that it's even later than that. But what is your view on the long-term hopes for this season?
I've gone into this season the least enthusiastic that I've ever in my history of being a Swindon Town fan. I've gone going, if we stay up, it's a good season. I'm there to see the people around me now and get out my house, take my son. My enthusiasm for what Swindon are bringing is dying, and it's dying very hard. So for me, I don't expect much this season. I think if it's above 19th, we've had a successful season compared to the previous season. I have zero faith in the structure above management, and not to kind of mention kind of what Dan said, but for me, I just can't see this club going in any other direction but a downward kind of area. And I think that will be referenced on the pitch. I think the players we got are very League Two, and I was a bit happy when we signed the likes of Harry Smith, because I really like Harry Smith. I've always liked Harry Smith. Solid League Two player. Defenders look solid. I think there's some big gaps in the team still. We haven't filled them. I feel we don't have a defensive midfielder, and the one we do, they keep playing him out of position, or even not even in the squad on Saturday. He closes down both those goals. They're great finishes, but he closes down both those goals in my eyes. We're not going to be fighting for promotion. If everyone sets their expectations a lot lower, everyone might be a little bit happier, but it's not going to be. It wasn't going to be a pretty season anyway with the type of players we bought. It was going to be very Route 1 and a bit Flitcroft-esque, but without the finishing of Flitcroft. So I've gone into this season bit with anything but relegation's a positive season. And yeah, I don't want to be that person and feel that way, but that's just how I feel right now.
I'd counter that by saying, actually, for the first time in ages, I really enjoyed a Swindon Town game on Saturday. I know the result wasn't great.
It was better than I expected, but I think it's because everyone's benchmark is so low.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I do.
We go, oh, we strung 6 passes together. Whereas the week before, I think it might have been Dan on low shot. 88 long balls, 22 successful. Between the two teams of Crewe and last week, there were 34 balls that went out of play from a pass between the pair of the teams. To me, those 2 teams last week are the teams that go down. This week's gave me, like, with no fight. Nobody is worse than the Crewe game. This week I saw 6 or 7 passes together. Kilkenny looks like a player who might be able to Dan Kempus a bit, but I just don't see it anywhere. I just think because we've got low benchmark, we saw a few passes together. It was a lot better. I just don't see where the excitement is. I don't think we've got the balance in the midfield. I don't rate King at all. I don't think he's a very good fullback. I think Harry Smith's great, and I hope that Tasinga becomes the player who runs off of him because Glatzel doesn't look anywhere near the player that he was last year. Drinnan, I don't really want to talk about this without being too harsh. That's just where I'm at.
Great. I'm looking forward to getting up at 4 o'clock on Saturday morning now. Thanks very much. Mr. Hawes, what's your view on it? I mean, you're around the club, aren't you? You're talking to these people. What is the mindset right now? Because I listened to your interview with Mark Kennedy on the way back on Saturday. He seems to be very positive. What is your view?
I think at the moment it does feel like it's the main. Speaking of reduced expectations, the main objective for this season does seem to be kind of turn the ship around to some extent, and then I think sort of aspirations of getting out of the division in the right direction rather than the horror of slipping out of the wrong division will come a bit later on. I think so. It's almost like kind of building up from scratch, and but I suppose the counter argument to that is then we've done a lot of building from scratch with Jody Morris and Mike Flynn and Scott Lindsay briefly and so on and so forth. But they've put a bit of money in, so Mark Kennedy has the backing. It seems to try and settle in and get his feet under the table and be given the magical word time to do something.
Beck, what would you say?
I think the team need a bit of time to settle in, work together. Kilkenny looks good. I think Butterfield could have a decent impact as well, but we have to give these people a chance to mix in. It's like anything, teenagers going to secondary school, things like that. Everybody needs a little bit of time just to get used to it, settle down a little bit. I get it. I get that it's not been a great couple of seasons really for us, but at the minute, I'm as much as I'm not a happy clapper, I'm certainly not feeling as negative about it as I thought I might be going into the season. I think we've had a couple of good signings. I'm just hopeful that they can turn things around for us.
Well, 17 new players, I make it this summer.
More than a few then.
Yeah, it's 1 or 2. And if you think back a year to Swindon 6, Crawley 0, only one of those players that started that game remains, and that's Uwakwe. Will Wright, of course, was playing in the opposite side for Crawley. Extraordinary turnover, Dan. And I saw you made a comment, and I really agree with this. If Mark Kennedy's here at the end of the season, that'll be a success, because at least we'll have kept a manager for a whole season and hopefully beyond, because we can't keep changing managers, can we? I mean, I think we had 4. Was it last year we had 4? Or the previous season? I can't remember. But it's not a good building base, is it?
No. Yeah. Let's try and dig into that a little bit. I think 12th place finish, Mark Kennedy will have done a very good job. It will have been a rot stopper. But the very fact we're even talking about a 12th place finish being a major achievement in the 4th tier as Swindon Town Football Club, it does get me down a bit. And I share quite a lot of sentiments with Mitch around the kind of sapped enthusiasm. I've been quite glad for the cricket season offering me a distraction. Streamed a couple of games and listened to others, and yeah, it's a really curious thing how a club is run off field, and that kind of off field trajectory, how that seeps through a club and onto the field. And so actually, if Mark Kennedy can stop the rot and do something of a Richie Wellens, try and reconnect the club and the fans in the town, try and build towards kicking on next season, that is probably, under this ownership, the only realistic steps forward. But it is maddening that we're talking in these terms. I think now that Kennedy has what is a full squad, we've got nearly 2 players for every position, we've got a few people out on loan, the excuses will stop soon, for the whole club, not just Kennedy and the players on the field. We drastically need an injection of happiness and positivity, and if Mark Kennedy turns it around, then he'll have done a very, very good job. My worry is just those things you can't measure. It just it's going to take a really set of strong characters to turn the club around, and to what Andrew said, get that ship facing the right way at least for next season.
All right, well, we will inject a bit of positivity a little later, because we need to do that, because it's a dismal old evening, and I don't really want it to be any more dismal, quite frankly, but I understand what people's views are. This is from Nick. We're so much better on Saturday. It should be we had this squad at the start of the season. Well, that's the dear old transfer window for you, isn't it? Colin says, Birmingham spent 10 million on a player last week. The gulf in football is vast and growing. There remains a long road ahead. I think you mean Jay Stansfield, of course, who started at Exeter. That means a nice injection of cash for Exeter, of course, along the way. Lee Carr, hello, Lee. Winning Mickey Mouse tomorrow will change the mindset. We'll get onto that in a minute. Mitch says, nothing good again, says Kevin. Stephen says, do we have enough goals within the side? Scored 2 individual screamers so far, none through team play. Gavin Kilkenny is well above League 2 standard. He only arrived the day before the match. Hi, Stephen. A lot of new players to properly integrate. Reason for hope? Kilkenny gives me Louis Reed vibes. That's from Matt. Shame the drop in attendances. Fans there from Australia, France and Scotland, etc. Fair play for them. I support my club through thick and thin. That's from Sean. I mean, what about that drop in attendance, Ray? 7,300. I do appreciate it's holiday time, etc., etc., etc. Last weekend, really, of the school holidays, wasn't it? So what do we think about that? That must be a worrying factor, mustn't it?
Yeah, it is worrying. I don't think it's surprising. I think the mood around the club for the last couple of years, and if you look at our last few seasons, we haven't been very good at home generally. We've had
that's an understatement, Ray.
Yeah, we've had some really poor games at home. So we've started badly. Obviously, the Walsall one has then meant people stayed away from the Notts County one to a degree. So I'm not so surprised. I think, honestly, the only thing that turns it around is a pickup in form, and hopefully we'll get onto that form sooner rather than later. That'll change things if things are a bit brighter. There's a bit more optimism coming from the results. Then the crowds will turn around. Honestly speaking, I think that's the only way it happens, because I think this drop off it's not the first time in our history. I know we're going through a darker period, but actually it's happened before. And it's the good times that bring the people back, and then they keep coming for a while, unless you get on a slump, which we've been on.
Yeah. Mitch, I would say, I mean, this is let's have a look. From Max, from the first game of 22-23 to the first game of 23-24, only 4 players stayed. The turnover is crazy when put into context. I mean, to me, that is a major factor. And it's not just at Swindon, it's a constant changeover of players, isn't it? Whichever club you look at, there are new players coming in. Some are on loan, some are only there for a year. I mean, there are one or two, well, quite a few here on 2-year contracts, I think. So at least, hopefully, they will stay around for 2 years.
We're doing nothing different to anyone else in the league. It's not like we're the only team in the league who have to deal with this. It's quite a normal thing. You know, look at the teams who go up to the playoffs, like a Crew, for example. Normally, their players are then good enough to play in League One. They go in League One, and their team gets torn apart. It happened 2 years ago. So we're the same level playing field as ever. It can't be an excuse for us. The reason why I'm so negative at the moment and having this kind of it's all terrible is because it's to manage my own expectations. If I put my expectation bar here, I can't be disappointed. I've been there too many times to go to a game and be annoyed. So if I set up here, can't really, well, just take Walsall, God, but I can't really go below that. So anything could, like, from there, if I go there thinking, oh, we could do great, then I'm going to be annoyed at every game I go to. If I go to the game, well, it's a day out, and if we get a good result, it's a good result. Then it's managing my own expectations as well as managing other people's. With regards to season tickets, it's interesting because no one around me has, bar my nephew, I couldn't force. I offered to buy him a ticket to come back. Pretty much everyone around us who have season tickets have renewed, but you can see the gaps. So I sit in the Arkle, you can see the gap in Don Rogers stand where the people are no longer there because of. They told us season tickets were the same, so it's only the match day tickets that seem to be the people not coming. And if you come and watch a 4-0 embarrassment, you're not going to want to come back, are you? And you can't say it's to do with the players gelling because the other teams are going to have pretty much the same situation. We might come good, the players might be great and might all gel together. Because, like I said, unlike Saturday, there was a lot more positivity with the players we had, and there's 1 or 2 players there that I think could be quite exciting. I think you came on later on, but it's just about managing your own expectations and not getting too carried away. You know, football's full of ups and downs. It's making sure, you're not too up and not too down, but one of those things.
Yeah, Matt says nearly 900 from Notts on Saturday as well. That's included in that crowd. Hi, Rich. Going to be a fantastic win on Tuesday night and a win at Barrow. Let's back the boys and the manager. Well, let's hope so. I'm predicting a good week for us results-wise, says Stephen. Wrexham were not that great to start with last season. And where did they finish? That's from mine. I think they're second at the moment in League One, aren't they? We will climb the table. Poor start, but we'll be opposite to last season. We'll take it on the chin if wrong, but fingers crossed. Ye of little faith. If they play like they did on Saturday, we will win more than we lose. I mean, what's your view on that, Andrew? I mean,
I look forward to investment like Wrexham coming forthwith.
Oh,
I can't wait. Bring that on. But sorry, sorry.
Let's go. I mean, from commentating on the Walsall game, which I would imagine must have been an absolute nightmare to do, but to Saturday, what was the difference? Chalk and cheese, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, I think where do we start? There was certainly much more energy about it, and perhaps it does feel a little bit like maybe they've figured out why there were some slow starts, because I think there have been certainly sort of slow starts for the first 3 games. It was a bit better for Crew. I mean, neither of them you could exactly say were thrilling, but they did grab what initiative there was in the game. So I think there's a bit of that. I do think having some new players and some more sort of threatening options off the bench helped as well to kind of keep things going, because that allowed you to have Smith and Glatz in particular kind of doing some herring around closing Notts County down, which you have to do, otherwise they'll just sort of pass their way through you. So I think sort of squad numbers help, bit of extra quality, and for whatever reason just being kind of sharper from the start. So clearly that was progress, but again, I think in this game you can say they're genuinely unlucky, but we are sometimes a little bit climbing over Mitch's low bar with it, and it's taking a bit of effort.
Yes. Beck, what would you say about this? Because, let's try and be a little bit positive, because, you can't say after 4 games you're going to get relegated. You can't say after 4 games you're going to get promoted. Some teams who are top of the league now won't be top of the league come May. So what's your view on that?
Well, as I said earlier, Notts County were absolutely flying October last year, as were we, and everything completely changed. You can't judge anything on 6 weeks. As I said, if this was New Year's Day and we were having this conversation, I'd feel completely differently. at this moment in time, we've had 2 home games. Yes, okay, we don't play as well at home. But, I agree with what Mitch has said. I think because everybody does have quite a low expectation at the moment, everybody is a little bit somber about it. It might make me completely different, but I don't get that anymore. I certainly don't get that. I really don't want to go and watch the games. I'm not interested anymore. My son still loves it. He still loves going. He loves putting on his shirt. For him, the results at this stage don't really matter. I think if it was the last game of the season and we were getting absolutely spanked 5-6-0, it'd be a completely different story. But we're nowhere near there yet. So I'm not concerned. As I said, if this was Christmas, New Year, completely different story. But right now, it's just too early to tell. We've barely seen anything from some of these players yet. They've got a long way to come.
Yeah, the whole Don Rogers stand stood to applaud the team at the end of Saturday's match. We had some real options off the bench. Definitely need to give Kennedy 10 matches before we can really know what's going to happen this season. I mean, I hate the phrase happy clapper, because if somebody goes to a game and wants to clap the team off, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine. I mean, there was an incident at Crewe where one of the fans sort of berated the players. Will Wright came across to him, talked to him, and they were best friends after that. So I hate that phrase, happy clappers. If you want to applaud something, applaud it. That's up to you. Dan, I mean, what would make you happier? I mean, I know there are certain things that would make you happier, but let's move on from that and say, from a football perspective, what would make you happy this season? Because I think you said 12th, didn't you? Which you said would be progress. I want us to win the Champions League. I want us to win the FA Cup, the European. I want everything, but it ain't going to happen. So what would make you happy?
Well, I can say confidently we're at least 4 years away from winning the Champions League. Well, what's made me happy? I like that Mitch made the point around every club being on a level playing field in terms of ripping up the squad and starting again. That is within a club's control. How you recruit, what length of contracts you give, what director of football you have, etc. Second thing that's going to make me happy is hopefully how we build on this better performance against Notts County, because the improved performance against Notts is only going to count for anything if we go and back that up at Barrow.
Yeah.
And so actually, if we're sat there next Monday night or whenever your next Monday night panel is, Vic, and we're talking about a win at Barrow and how some of the fringe and squad players have put out a really good performance against Exeter and given Mark Kennedy a headache, then it's going to count for something. But yeah, as I said earlier, I think it needs something very soon just to calm some nerves, put some points on the board, and then hopefully see what this team can do with some confidence flowing through their veins. But it feels like it's going to be quite a slow, steady road back. I don't think there's any magic wand, particularly at Swindon Town at the minute.
There's nobody outstanding in goal scoring rights at the moment. Will Wright, Gavin Kilkenny, Harry Smith, and Namdi Offerbor have all got 1 goal apiece. I think I'm right in saying that. Ray, normally you would think about a game at Exeter in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy of having a little consequence. And as we know, the last 2 seasons, we have played the minimum amount of games available.
Yeah.
But right now, I think we would take a good performance and a win at Exeter, and that would be a real boost, I think, to everybody, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's even though we don't like the competition, we're always happy when we win, aren't we? But I think we need it. I mean, it'd be interesting to see the side that Kennedy actually puts out on the back of where we are and needing to sort of get people playing time together as well. If you're looking for positives, I guess I went to Reading last year for the hammering up there with that really young side. We should have a half decent side at Exeter. If you look at the squad now, in theory, if we've got around, we had a full bench on Saturday. That didn't include the likes of Overborns as well. So you'd like to think we can put out something that gives the players that need game time a team around them as a minimum. But yeah, definitely, Vic, if we can get a win, that's gonna help the mood.
Yeah, Mitch. I mean, I think a lot of comments are coming in saying how negative this is tonight. Let's not try and be negative now, because
Yeah.
we can't continually be negative, because otherwise there's no point. But let's talk about Exeter and the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. I think that's what it's called these days. As we know, Exeter had a fabulous win at Bolton on Saturday, 2-0. They're going well in League One. Whether they put a strong side out or not, I don't know. You would like Mark Kennedy to put a strong side out, wouldn't you?
It would be good to see some of the fringe players, and that's so really early to say fringe players, but give those players we've just signed, some of the young Minton and Go, McGregor, get McGregor out, get the goalkeeper Scott to kind of do it. I'm one of those people to flip the negativity. I'm quite excited by this competition because I like to see the players that I don't get to see every week. So I quite enjoy seeing the players rotating and some of the youth players coming in, because it's good to see certain players get a moment to shine. Sometimes, I remember a young gentleman against Arsenal under 21. He was amazing. I can't remember. Dan, you'll know who it was. The young kiddie we had. He's rapid.
Oh, Abu Kanu up front.
No, it wasn't Carnage a few years ago. But those players.
Okay.
Mo Dabray, was it?
Mo Dabray, yeah. Absolutely sensational that game. Smashed it. Looked really good. So I enjoy these games because I get to see the fringe players, and sometimes there are shining lights. Quite excited by Dylan Mitchell. I've liked what I've seen from him. I want to see him get a bit of game time and see. So I actually enjoy them. I enjoy seeing the free players kind of get involved. But I don't disagree with what certain people are saying about a win can change momentum and the dynamic. But I also don't believe that I know the 4-0 was a tough one to take, but people shouldn't be lowering confidence after 4 games. As a player, it's in one bad game, it's getting used to each other and keep playing. But I do believe a win would help. Even if it was a draw and we win the penalties, that kind of momentum, that we need to kind of get going. I do have faith that when a certain strikers, Glatzel, he just needs one of those shots to go in. You just say he doesn't look like the player he was last year, but he looked better on Saturday and he's getting himself in those positions. But I also feel like the signing of Tasinga might put a rocket up his to go, right, this is not guaranteed. I really need to do something. I don't want to see him be put in that number 10 position. I didn't enjoy that in pre-season. I want people fighting. To me, Harry Smith has to play. He's our best striker. Not necessarily tomorrow, but he has to play because he's your focal point. If we're going to play this style of football, he has to be the number 1 striker and other people running around him. So it'll be interesting to see that some of the fringe players play tomorrow. Hopefully 1 or 2 of them make enough impression to go, I'm starting. It'd be nice to see Oberthorpe actually playing defensive midfield.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at Barrow last season, he was magnificent. I mean, it was one of the best defensive midfield performances I've seen in a long, long time. And my goodness me, you came away thinking, wow, he's the answer to that particular position. Andrew, you're returning to your University City tomorrow. What do you think? It's an important game, isn't it? I think, not often do we say that about this competition, but I've always thought it's the most likely route to Wembley, to be honest. I mean, there aren't many competitions where we might get to Wembley. This is one of them. So I've never quite understood this sort of fixation with playing young players all the time in it. What's your view?
Yeah, no, I get the impression that you certainly won't see a kind of Reading style side, shall we call it, tomorrow. I think you'll definitely see more senior players than you saw for that. Quite who starts, who's on the bench, and so on. Obviously, remains to be seen. But I think it is important if it is going to be those more senior players, seeing some good performances from them, and just perhaps saying some of the same good things that they maybe they did against Notts County. So we do get a better understanding of the kind of identity and the kind of way the team want to play, because the number of long balls did come down on Saturday. I think it was 66 apparently. So New Swindon 25% reduction in long balls, which is quite good. So there's that. But yeah, no, I think the game does have a bit of support, partly because regardless, everyone would like a W on the board just to feel a bit better, and it is a bit about sort of backing up that Notts County performance, even with slightly different personnel.
What's your view on it, Beck? Obviously, the Pizza Van Trophy, the LDV vans, the whatever it's been called, it's the Bristol Street Motors at the minute, but much maligned. But how important could it be for Swindon's season?
I think we should always take every opportunity to win a game, regardless of if it's a Tin Pot trophy, as some call it. It's still an opportunity for any player, whoever they are, to get some minutes under their belt. As a few have said, it would be great if we can get some of our lesser played players to have some minutes. But to me, it's just more important that we still put out as strong a side as we can and go for a win. I don't see the point when I know some people say, oh, it doesn't matter, it's just this Tin Pot trophy, let's concentrate on the league. Let's concentrate on every game. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we take an opportunity to win and potentially progress, regardless of what we all think of the trophy itself?
Well, as I said, Dan, I kind of think it's the one realistically where you can actually get to a Wembley final. And we saw under Di Canio what effect that had. I mean, the day itself was a bitter disappointment, but it's the one opportunity really, apart from the playoffs, that you get to have a big day out at Wembley, isn't it?
Well, of course, yeah. And I want to win the Auto Windscreen Shield, or the Freight Rover Trophy, whatever you want to call it. I've been scribbling away while everybody's been talking. I hope you can see. I'm going to put up what my side for tomorrow would be. Maybe you can't see that, but the point is, in previous years, so take last year, I think the reason Michael Flynn put out the side he did at Reading was because the squad was so small and he was scared to death of getting a main player injured. At the very least this season, now we have the requisite size of squad. You can put out a fairly good team tomorrow. I mean, I would expect Minton to start, possibly Delaney, McGregor and Kirkman, probably the wing backs. Offerball, Kane, Butterworth in midfield, Drinan and Shishmanga up front. So that is a more than capable sort of fringe side. I hope they win. I hope the strikers score some goals. Putting my cricket hat on, sort of regardless of the opposition, you just want to get some runs. And strikers are the same. They just want to score goals. Mm. So I expect us to put out a fairly strong side. I hope we win, and I hope we can take something from that into Saturday up at Barrow.
Yeah, I think that's the point.
We need it.
Yeah, a win tomorrow could give the team a massive boost, says Matthew. Well, I think it'd give everybody a massive boost, to be honest. And 51 games in the last 2 seasons, Ray, you want a bit of excitement, don't you? We haven't had it, have we? I mean, the last excitement we had, I think, was Man City in terms of a cup competition, which seems an awful long time ago now.
Yeah, it does. And where I sort out these old programs for the supporters club, it's quite galling looking back at the big cup ties and stuff. It seems like a lifetime ago. It really does. And obviously we're out of one of them already. But this coming week or tomorrow is an opportunity to actually put a run together, and hopefully we can do something in the FA Cup that replicates the Man City thing as well. It is a sort of it's a massive part of a season that we've been missing for a while, isn't it, really? And we've had some great cup runs. So some of those, unbelievable runs, like, we played Wolves and Tottenham a week or two apart or whatever it was after beating Arsenal. And there's been some incredible times, and you just hope for that little run that's going to get you that big night out again. We've had one in recent times with the City one, but desperately need to string a couple of cup results together. Of course, we thought we'd get it with Flynn because that was his thing, wasn't it? But it didn't quite materialise.
No, I think the word Aldershot comes from that. Goodness me. It is, I want to see a cup run. I want a big excitement like that. And I go back so many years, it's unbelievable. But you just, Swindon was a cup team. It was all recognised as a cup team. And you mentioned we'd already out of one cup. I've completely forgotten we'd played in it now. And that's only like 2 weeks ago. The League Cup doesn't seem to happen, does it, for us? I mean, Mitch, Swindon is a cup town, isn't it? They say up for the cup, and it's always been like that.
Not in my lifetime. not in my lifetime. All I can, off the top of my head, obviously Man City, Chelsea, Aston Villa.
Yeah, Aston Villa, yeah.
That's met Fulham away. I think that's about it. I've seen us lose to non-league team after non-league team after non-league team in the FA Cup, League Cup. We had a great night away in Stoke. That was unbelievable. Late goal there, but no, cups have been gone since Di Canio, really, haven't they? For us, by part of that Man City game, but not in my lifetime. Cups. It's not something I associate with Swindon, to be openly honest. My friends always laugh that we go out to non-league teams, or the older shot one was hard to take. So no, it's not how I associate Swindon. Unfortunately. That's not me being negative, by the way. That's just
no, that's fair enough. I understand that, because it's been 11 years. It will be 11 years since we got through to the second round of the League Cup, which is extraordinary, bearing in mind the past history of that particular competition. Who's with you tomorrow night, Andrew? Who's?
I think Rob is on tomorrow.
Oh, Mr. Hartley is with you tomorrow night. That's good, because he'll be making the trip down. We welcome you to all to Devon. It makes such a nice change. Thanks very much for coming down. We'll look forward to it. I mean, what about cup competition? How many have you done, Andrew? Cups?
Blimey, I'm trying to. Thinking of cup wins is quite a challenge. No, the whole point of cups is to try and hit that sort of Manchester City jackpot and give. It goes back to a bit what Beck's saying. Some loves going. It's like give people memories that they have to last on to. Because I'm not the world's greatest FA Cup fan, but by the happy coincidence, we got a really strong Manchester City side, and the place was banged out. The whole atmosphere there, Jim. We got. And the other thing is, we got a moment from it.
We did a great
goal.
Yeah.
So that that's what cup competitions are there for. Not necessarily in the first round of this on a Tuesday when we win a shootout in front of 800 people or whatever. But that's I think that's the kind of point of them, and to use it, as we say, hopefully to get some of those players on the edge of the first team or the new arrivals to really give Mark Kennedy something to think about.
That's what you want for Saturday, isn't it? But can you remember a big cup game apart from Man City, or what are your memories?
Not really, no. Man City, I think that was definitely the first time, especially that I remember watching it at home with my little boy. He was 5 at the time, and it's lovely. They don't care. They don't care what the result is or who it is. They just like playing the big clubs. They like knowing who it is. And for my son especially, he was able to pick out all 22 players on the field. That's what it's about to me. If we do get those bigger clubs, as Andrew said, it's just about getting, it's getting a bit of revenue in. It's getting a bit of a buzz around the town in general. And some great revenue for local businesses. Even I'm sure it goes down as far as that. So, no, I can't remember much apart from that, to be honest. My memory's not great for cup games.
No, there haven't been many. I mean, I can go back to 1967 if you want to talk about West Ham at home, and then get into the 5th round, and of course the quarterfinal against Leeds in 1970 when they beat by 2 Alan Clark goals. Great times. Dan, what are your cup memories? I get a feeling there aren't many.
Hey, no, I've got some for you. I'm going to start with I'm going to start with a little joke between me and my wife, because she was asking me the other day about a weekend that we could do something Christmassy with the kids, and it's kind of become my default answer now. Let me just check when FA Cup second round weekend is.
Or shopping day as it's known.
And so sure enough, we're doing something Christmassy with the kids on FA Cup second round day. So reliable, our Swindon. But no, God, on my very first season, I remember being very, very upset, waking up at my nan's because my dad had been up to Bolton for the semi-final second leg. And I think when I went to bed, we were, 2 goals up on aggregate. And I was dreaming of a trip to Wembley to see us play the mighty Liverpool. So it's kind of been downhill from there, if I'm honest. I remember getting very excited about Everton away. Ian Culverhouse was sent off after 40 seconds, was it?
Yeah.
But yeah, Di Canio delivered. That's probably been the high point of mine and Mitch's sort of Swindon Town life. Wins at Stoke, the home game against Aston Villa, which was just electric. Home against Chelsea, putting up a good show.
Yeah.
When Jed McCrory was in town, and of course one of the great drinking days away at Fulham, just walking along a road in Hammersmith. I reckon we went to about 9 pubs. It was amazing.
Wigan.
Yeah, Wigan, fabulous.
Oh, well, that wasn't even an upset. We were beating Wigan.
I mean,
Canyon side was so good.
Who got that touch, didn't he?
Offside.
No, it wasn't offside. Don't be daft.
He was.
Anthony White says it took 6,000 to Fulham for a 1-0 loss. Bobby Zamora, I think, was the man who got the goal for Fulham that day. But you go back to that Leeds run that I was talking about. I remember seeing Scunthorpe in the fourth round. Kevin Keegan played for Scunthorpe that day. It was an extraordinary memory, from games like that in the past. And you just think that's what the cup is about. Right. So a win at Exeter then. Let's all be positive, and we're going to win the Bristol Street Motors Trophy this season, which would be fabulous, a day out at Wembley. And then on to Barrow, Ray. Now, this is a big game, I think. Never do you actually think you'd ever say that. Barrow, Anthony's just reminded, 9,000 to Manchester United in the League Cup. Lost 2-1. Got a goal that night, which was fantastic, wasn't it? Was it Peter Thorne? I was trying to remember. Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Overhead kick-ish.
Yeah, ish. Yeah, they had Kanchelskis, people like that playing for them, which is extraordinary. Right, let's go to Barrow. A big game, as I said. Never did we think we'd ever say that, but it is a big game, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. At risk of a too honest sketch and answering the question before this one, Vic, just going back quickly to the cup.
Is this like the two Ronnies then?
It came to mind actually that the Macari era actually came to life on the back of two cup wins. If you remember back to when it kicked off and that 85-86 season really kicked off, it was wins against Sunderland and Sheffield Wednesday in the cup.
Yes, it was.
That really got people going again. And in terms of your question to the Exeter one, there's an example of where the cup did really, really kind of kick us on.
Yes. So Barrow, big game.
Yes, it is. Yeah, not as big as those two games, but no, it is. Obviously, we did, like people have said, we need to follow up the Notts County performance with a result at Barrow. Really, it would just take a lot of pressure off. And in isolation, it maybe seems crazy to be talking about pressure at this stage of the season, but of course, it's not in isolation really. So we do need a win. So it's a big game. Can we win it? I think so. After Saturday. And they've had a good start, Barrow, haven't they? Which means that they may be due a slight slip up. So it's a big game. I think we are capable of winning it.
Very good.
We can but dream of a win at Barrow.
Barrow, exactly that. Yeah. Yeah. It almost pains me to say this, Mitch, but it is a big game at Barrow, isn't it? And
Barrow's a tough old place to go.
Yeah, trust me, I know. Yeah, it's a long way.
Stoke on a Tuesday night mentality. It's a tough old. Last year, no one in a million years had us getting a result from there. And we did. So
we've won there the last two times we've played there.
Yeah, I remember watching.
Yeah, Louis Reed got a penalty. Yeah.
The weather was atrocious one time. Awful.
Yeah, that was the Louis Reed one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm playing that. But the thing about League Two is you could go and get beat 4-0 by Walsall and then ended up beating or drawing with the favourites Chesterfield. We could go and turn Barrow over 4-0. We could lose 4-0. That's the thing of League Two, isn't it? You just don't know. All it takes is a mistake from a defender for them. The momentum shifts to us like it did against us when Hull made that mistake, and we looked quite comfortable before that. And then he makes that mistake, and then the momentum shifts, and suddenly every single shot goes in. You just don't know. So I put my benchmark low so that I'm not disappointed, but I also couldn't be surprised to see us win. And we could win comfortably, but again, we could also lose 4-0. At this stage, I just don't know. But have more enthusiasm, believe it or not. So this is a more enthusiastic version of the guy who went to the game on Saturday, because after that Crewe game and the Walsall full of a Crewe, I just couldn't see anything else. But so at least there was some style of play, and I think give the guy, if that's what the guys are looking like after a day or two together, maybe a little bit more time training with the newer players. And this is me trying to be positive. There might be a bit more connectivity and a bit more flow to them, because flowed pretty well at times because they've been together a little bit of time. Just trying to understand where people sit in the 11, and I don't, I'm not sure where Cottrell sits, to be honest. I'm not sure if he sits in the team at all. He looked a little bit better further up the pitch, but it's trying to find that balance of where I think we got the pieces there. I just think we got to put them in the right place at the right time.
if you want to take your temperature, just in case you're a bit worried about getting positive, that might be a good thing. I think maybe you just never know. Anthony reminds me, of course, we took 4,000 to Ipswich in the Milk Cup when we got beat 6-1. That was after the Sheffield Wednesday victory, if I remember rightly. Rich says 6:30 a.m. start for me going to Barrow. If only, Rich. If only. Mr. Hawes, what about Barrow? I mean, Louis Reed with a 1-0 with a penalty after about 3 minutes, I think, if I remember rightly. A great 3-0 win last season. They played really well and memorable for that rickety old stand being blown to pieces by the wind. What are your thoughts on Barrow?
Yeah, well, the holy grail of Williams Kikolo scoring a goal happened at Barrow. So I don't know what's going to top that this time. But no, I think it is quite difficult. The journey inevitably plays its part. They're basically a disallowed goal at the end against Carlisle from being unbeaten this season. So they're doing pretty well. But again, I think it's about sort of building on the performance again. And then if you put in a performance that gets you something there, looks positive, you feel like you can attack the home games coming up with Newport, who have started well, but I think they played a lot of the teams that are going to struggle, and Carlisle, who are clearly a little bit of a mess at the moment. And you look at those and you think, if you go into those with a little bit of momentum, a little bit of form, you can kind of attack those, and then hopefully after those games, the season might have a much happier, kind of complexion to it. We can all be a bit more zen, if you like.
Okay, fair enough, man. Cool, far out. Tony says, Barrow are going to be tough. Got some big lumps in the team. Will be physical. It's important, Beck, isn't it, to get you're going to get a result, whatever it is. Lose, win, or draw. It'll be a result. I always hate that phrase. We need to get a result. You'll get one. Trust me. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm quite confident for a win. Everybody is entitled to a bad day at the office. Who's to say that that's not going to be Barrow? Who's to say that on next Monday they might have a panel and they might be saying, "Oh God, we've lost to Swindon Town." There is every possibility that could happen. As a few of us have said, I think the team just needed maybe a couple more days to gel together, have a little bit of an opportunity to see what makes each one of them tick, a bit of extra training. I don't know. I am quietly confident. My dad and my uncle are making the trip. So yeah, they're both very, very confident. So maybe their confidence rubs off on me. But yeah, I'm feeling a win. I think it could be a little bit of a scrappy game, but who cares? If we get,
absolutely,
even if
who
we get
cares?
drawn.
Yeah, I don't care if the ball goes out of touch 55 times a minute. That's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. A horrible game and win 1-0. That's fine for me. Hello, Fifey. I miss Kikolo, he says. Falls rush in at 9 o'clock, don't forget. Williams Kikolo. Interesting, Dan. Discuss. I thought it was all right. Am I wrong in that?
He was an adequate League Two left back who gradually got fitter and put in some decent performances at the end of the season. It kind of felt like us and Kokolo were doing each other a favour. Swindon needed a filler. Kokoli needed to play some games so he could get a move back to France. Job done.
Yeah.
A bit of short-term thinking. But yeah, there is a new left wing back in town, George Cox. Hopefully his international clearance will have come through by the weekend for the Barrow game. I think that's quite an interesting signing, actually. Recent history in the Eredivisie in Holland, the top division there. As for Barrow, the one pearl of wisdom I would chuck in is actually early September is a good time to go to Barrow. The weather should behave. The pitch should be relatively flat. So I think the last 2 times we've been to Barrow, the pitch has been a bit of a challenge, and so is the weather. But I'm as positive as I can be. We've won there the last 2 times, despite being various shades of not very good. The season's got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And why not?
Why not Barrow?
Absolutely.
We're a lot bigger and stronger this season than we've ever been.
Yeah.
Barrow are notoriously a big and strong team. We're not a team of Louis Reeds, although we once wanted to be. Most people 6 foot plus, so got a better chance than notoriously we should have on paper. So there you go, more positivity.
Yeah,
You
no, it's a
okay,
good point.
Mitch?
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a lie down? Are you okay, Mitch? You're fine. Hello, Jackie. She says, I remember going to Upton Park when I was only 13, long time ago, but we took them back to the county ground. I was overawed by the atmosphere there. Some great cup ties at West Ham over the years. Goodness me. I wonder if it's like...
Forget about replays, Vic.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't happen anymore, do they? No, terrible.
Premier League are tired, bless them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anybody been to the London Stadium to watch West Ham? No. Just wonder what it was like compared to Upton Park. Okay, Gavin Kilkenny, discuss, Ray. I think he looks a player, doesn't he? He looks a player above where we are at the minute.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. If he's consistent at that level, he's definitely above League Two. Yeah, I think he was great to watch, but I think it wasn't just his personal performance. He brought a lot more out of the team, because I think Cottrell moving forward looked a better player, definitely. And I think Glatzel, for the first time, the ball was on the deck a little bit, and Glatzel had a chance, and it definitely upped Glatzel's game as well. So I think he was terrific for like a first game, just coming in and slotting straight in. If that's kind of what we've got to look forward to, I think he's going to be pivotal.
Yeah, what's your view, Mitch?
Yeah, I just don't want him as my deepest player, because he can be a deep line playmaker, and I think that was the idea what Cottrell was going to be, and then we realised it wasn't. I just want to see a bit more power protecting those guys in the middle. Obviously, Ollie Clark's not the Ollie Clark that we thought we got. I hope that changes. He's looking more like James Dunn than potentially Ollie Clark.
He looked a lot better Saturday, I thought.
Yeah, he did, and he worked hard. There's a few chances where he chased a few things down the wing and won free kicks in places, but I want that creative player a little bit further up the pitch. I don't want him necessarily number 10, but I want someone to say to him, don't worry about this part. You go and be expressive and do what you can do. I'll sit here and hold the ship where you go and be creative. But no, you could tell he was a lot better than everyone else, but also he could start to thread the passes that we obviously could all clearly see that was not there. That I feel like Kane has. I just think he's a bit lightweight, and I feel like if he had experienced players around him, he'd be a better player. But I feel like Kilkenny is that quality that can release the pace of, not necessarily Kane, not necessarily Smith, but one of the other strikers. And hopefully we start to see it. And then the more they start to understand each other as well, not just the releasing the strikers, but releasing the fullbacks to get those balls into Harry Smith.
Okay. I think Mark Kennedy was effusive. Is that the word, Andrew? About
that's definitely a good word.
Yeah, I think it's a good word. Gavin Kilkenny on Saturday. I mean, he looks a player, doesn't he? What's your view? What was Dave Hockaday's view?
I think everyone who saw him was encouraged. Be it Dave, be it me, be it anyone. Really, he's not known as goal scorer either. So if he wants to add a few more 25-yard goals like that, that's good. But no, I think some of that quite well. It's like he played, but he seemed to allow other people to play as well. I'm not sure you're going to immediately get your wish of off a ball of a sort of enforcer in front of the defence, because we've seen Cottrell there and now Kilkenny there. I think that's one of the things he wants, is that player in that position, sort of be deep lying and maybe starting getting things going and starting perhaps getting the passing going, and trust that the rest of the sort of team organisation will make sure that the defence isn't too exposed. But no, Kilkenny was one of the definite plus points of Saturday, no doubt.
Yeah, it was great to see him play. Actually, I really enjoyed watching him, and I'm a great fan of midfield players who, not to bore everybody to death, but I went to watch Buckland Athletic last Tuesday, and I saw a 31-year-old defensive midfield player who won every tackle, could pass, and actually had a pop at goal as well. And I came away thinking, that's the best midfield performance I've seen for many, many years. And he's played for Tiverton Town and Buckland Athletic. And I just really enjoyed that sort of performance, Becky. I mean, what do you think about midfield players? Who's your favourite? Can you remember any?
There's not anybody that particularly stands out to me. I've always been a Yasser Kassim fan. I go back to Yasser every time that we mention anybody from seasons ago. Whether or not he was actually the best, I don't know. He was just my favourite at the time.
That's fair enough. Okay. What about Gavin Kilkenny? What do you think about him?
I think he looks really good. A little bit of creativity, quite passionate. I think he looks quite exciting. I think he's probably just what we needed right now. As I said, give him a couple of games to settle in, and yeah, I think he could be the one for us. And I think in sort of a month, 6 weeks time, I think we'll all be rocking the I Love Kilkenny hats. Absolutely.
What style of hat are we talking? Because Mitch has already shown us a couple of hats. Mr. Hawes wears a hat. What sort of hat should it be, do you think?
Well, I don't think it's going to be a top hat and tails type of thing. I think, I do seem to think actually he's quite exciting. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got.
Excellent. Dan, what's your view of him?
I really like that he's ours. I think some of the chat in the build-up to him signing was about him coming on loan. So yeah, the fact we own him and he's under contract for next season too, we have a real vested interest in his development now, rather than it being a loan player we're concerned about leaving in January. I think hopefully there's even more to come than what you all saw on Saturday, as he gets fitter, as he gets to know his teammates more. To Mitch's point around wanting to have off the ball in front of the back three as a screen, I think I'm with Mitch on that, but then I'm a bit more of a purist. I think Kennedy clearly wants a centre midfielder that's going to get the ball off of the centre halves and get Swindon playing from deep. I'm glad that's no longer Cotterill. I think in the game at Chesterfield and in the game at Crewe in particular, I think the evidence says you want to keep Cotterill away from his own goal as much as you can. And, with him playing slightly better higher up the field, then, the Kilkenny signing might have the add-on effect of getting something better out of Cotterill too. But yeah, in terms of past midfielders, the question you put to Bex, I was a massive Simon Ferry fan, big personality player, and recent years we've been fairly spoilt really with some beautiful footballers in Massimo Luongo, who's now gracing the Premier League, Kazim, Reed, a couple of metronomes who just get the ball, move it on, get the ball, move it on, and people like Gladwin as well, give him plenty of thrust and goal scoring threat. I know you love Mitch. No, you love Gladders, Mitch.
Obviously, Anthony Grant. You miss Anthony Grant.
He's more in what you want from off the ball.
Yeah, off the ball. We thought of Barrow last year. He was the Anthony Grant replacement. Same. I thought many people thought that, and he was fabulous, that guy.
Oh. Sorry, I've got a little visitor, a future Swindon Town fan.
Excellent. Yeah. Right, we're going to wrap this up then because time is short and it's dark outside now. Where are we in a month's time, Ray?
Hopefully, a few positions above where we are now. A couple of wins, a few wins under our belt. Will we be finished article? I doubt it. I think it's going to take some time to sort of really sort of gel. But I think that's where we'll be. And I'm hopeful that we would have moved on from a sticky start.
We'll get all the views in a minute. Where are we going to be in a month's time, Mitchell?
This is positive. I don't think we'll be in relegation zone. I saw enough on Saturday to not think we're going to be in the relegation zone. Just hope we move on from Saturday and get that little run of games.
Sure.
Andrew?
I think Touchwood further up the table than we are, with maybe a couple of home wins, but I think occasionally hopefully there'll be a sort of graph of improvement, but it might be a bit sort of jagged. It might go a bit up and down, but hopefully on a upward trajectory overall, if that makes sense.
Beck?
Somewhere around about 18th. I think that'll do nicely for a couple of weeks.
Somewhere about what? Sorry, I missed that bit.
Like 18th, something 18th. Like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, right. I think that's all right for then.
We're going up from 23rd, so that's 5 places up, which is a move in the right direction.
It's possible.
Absolutely. Dan?
Where are we going to be in a month's time? Hopefully with 2 or 3 wins under our belt. Otherwise, I think it could be quite an interesting Monday night panel in a month's time.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Well, we are. Thank you all very much indeed. Don't forget, Fools Rush in at 9 o'clock if you want more Swindon Town content. There's the Load Strangers podcast. There's the What's yours now? Talk of the Town. Is it Andrew? Is that the BBC one? That's the one, isn't it? Andrew?
There's yes, no, there's not a sort of dedicated podcast now, but you should be able to find all the post game interviews on the feed and so forth.
Lovely. Okay.
Watch out for those if you can't hear them elsewhere.
And don't forget the Moonraker, of course. I think I've plugged everybody now, so why not? Simple as that. In the spirit of cooperation, why wouldn't we? Chris, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, panel. Very good. We think we've got to a bit of a positive now, Mitch, haven't we? Going over a bit. So
You swayed me.
And Dan, I love your little one's water bottle. How
Yes.
nice is that?
Up the Junior Reds.
Yeah, the
Yes.
Junior Red.
The Junior Reds, a magnificent organisation. If you've not been in there, go there. It's as simple as that, really.
Exactly. Okay, so next week we've got an On the Sofa, and we are going back quite a long time, aren't we, Vic? We have got Ronnie Howell on.
Oh, Ronnie Howell,
So
yes, indeed. Yes.
61?
From the,
61, was it 61, 62?
oh, gosh, it tested me. I'll look it up later, but I do remember seeing Ronnie Howell
It's around,
play.
around about that time. So
Yes.
yes, we are going back in time next week. So so anybody who's going to Exeter, we will see you tomorrow. And anybody going to Barrow, Vic will see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Barrow. I am actually not here. So
And don't forget the fans forum on Thursday.
oh yes, fans forum on Thursday. So again, if anybody wants tickets, it's on the stfc-osc.com website for tickets. Okay, so we will see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.